Welcome to everybody who is just joining us on our webinar. We're glad to see you. We're going to let people spool up for another couple of seconds, but while we're waiting for the rest of our attendees to join us, I just want to welcome you to today's webinar. My name is Melissa Martin. I am with ATS Lab Midwest and Mission Learning Systems. I'm excited to be joined today by our partners at B9 Creations, as well as a special guest instructor from Lake Area Technical College. More to come on that. Now, before we dive into the topic today, I just want to go over a few housekeeping items with you. We have got a quick 30-minute webinar today. It's going to go fast. We have a lot to share with you, so buckle up. But we do have time reserved at the end for audience questions. So as we're going through the content here, as we're sharing some of these stories, if you do have questions, find that Q&A button on your Zoom control panel and submit your questions. We'll save those up and make sure we pose those to our panelists at the end of today's webinar. This webinar is also being recorded, so after the webinar is over, we will put it up on YouTube and make sure to email it to everybody who registered. You are more than welcome to send that to those in your network who would be interested in this technology. All right, we've got a great lineup of speakers today, and I want to just tee them up real quick. Moderating today's panel discussion will be Matt Kirkner of ATS Lab Midwest and Mission Learning Systems. We'll also be joined by Danny Mason from B9 Creations, as well as Brooks Jacobson from Lake Area Technical College. Without further ado, Matt, the floor is yours.
All right, Melissa. Well, thank you for that kind introduction, and welcome everybody to what is going to be a fast-paced and absolutely fascinating webinar. Just to give you an example of what we mean by fast-paced, we're going to start out with this. I'm going to talk in just a minute about how I came to find out about this amazing technology from B9 Creations. But as we speak, their technician Will is going to begin a print at their facility in Rapid City, South Dakota. Believe it or not, we are going to find out if B9 Creations can live up to its commitment to print parts faster than anybody else on the planet. And we are going to find out at the end of this webinar if they can, in fact, print a part within our 30 minutes. So we'll look forward to seeing that. We're really looking forward to our guests that we have with us today. Before we get to that incredible group of people, I want to just mention this. As I've learned in this business of distribution in the education sector, if you want to learn about products, if you want to learn about your market, if you want to make your business better, the place you go is to see your customers and your partners out in the field. So I was on just such a trip last February. I was driving, believe it or not, through the state of South Dakota, and I stopped to see my good friend Brooks Jacobson. And Brooks is at Lake Area Tech in Watertown, South Dakota. Stopped in, he gave me an amazing tour of his entire lab, the entire school. We were looking at his sea of 3D printers, and I was standing in that area looking at all the usual suspects, the kind of brands that we always see when we're looking at 3D printers in a technical or community college. And then I saw this one that I had never seen before. And I said, Brooks, what is that? And I don't want to steal any of Brooks's thunder. We'll get to him in a little bit. But what he told me about his partnership with B9 Creations was so incredible that I was like, we have to be part of their ecosystem. We have to find a way to work with this incredible company. And in fact, we did. So with no further ado on my end, I want to introduce my friend Danny Mason. Danny is the Vice President of Sales and Marketing for B9 Creations. This is the second of our three-part webinar series on their incredible technology. This one, of course, directed at our technical and community colleges. Danny, so awesome to be back with you.
Yeah, glad to be here.
So let's talk about this. There are 92, believe it or not, technical and community colleges across the 7 states where I spend most of my time, 92 of them. And I go into every single one of them, and I don't think there's a single one that doesn't have additive and 3D printing technology at the college. Tell us what's unique about B9.
Absolutely. 3D printing is in every industry on the planet. And to prepare students for those careers, colleges should have same access to the equipment they use in industry. And that's really the hallmark of a B9 Creations printer. It's production grade, incredibly precise, accurate, and repeatable. But we also believe that technology should be accessible. So ours are out of the box and printing in 15 minutes with 5 button pushes and 0 calibrations, as we'll evidence today, so that students and educators can get value out of the technology without having to become a 3D printing technician. I'd say the last thing is our printers are fast. Think parts in minutes to under an hour. They're open to third-party materials, and we really measure our success in learning outcomes and career opportunities, not just selling a printer. So we provide a lot of ongoing support and services and partnership, with Lab Midwest and even industry connections like the one Brooks is going to talk about to ensure those students are successful.
Out of the box and printing in 5 button pushes. That is awesome. Really, really fast and holding tremendous tolerance as well. I know we're going to get into that. But because of that, we have, and the wide range of materials, by the way, we have just a tremendous number of different programs at our community and technical colleges that could benefit from this. Sometimes we think about a fab lab, or maybe we think about a materials program or a CAD or design program. Your technology really has a really broad reach in our technical and community colleges. Tell us about that.
It absolutely does. You mentioned some of them, design programs, robotics, automation, automotive, but also think architecture, electronic systems, even the health sciences, where we're in dental and medical device, all the way through business and entrepreneurship, not just from a product perspective, but a lot of times launching a 3D printing service. And some great examples of this type of partnership is we'll have medical device manufacturers in Minnesota, for example. I was just up there visiting with one of them that will partner with a technical college and say, use the same technology. And oh, by the way, let me help with workforce development because that's the greatest need that I have. And so we have used it in everything from dentures to robots to in-of-arm tooling, where we're creating this pipeline of trained talent to fill these critical roles.
Critical roles indeed, and I want to get into that. My teammates at ATS Lab Midwest and Mission Learning Systems will tell you that what gets them really, really excited isn't necessarily just the technology, which is really, really cool, but thinking about the potential career opportunities for our students, in this case at the technical and community college level, and all the things that they can be doing once they leave their educational pathway. So I'd love to hear from your perspective, Danny, what career opportunities are available for students as they're learning additive and then moving on and starting their careers.
Absolutely. I talk to customers in industry every day as well, and their biggest challenge and opportunity is workforce. And there's a huge need for students with this experience, whether it's dental offices, hospitals, pharmaceutical companies, all the way to the military and aerospace. If you go onto a university or a national research lab, jewelry, even architecture and design, and they're all over STEM, as you can imagine, in pretty much every engineering program on the planet. But the thing that's so incredible is it doesn't just make all those jobs I rattled off more effective. There are whole careers that have 3D printing in the title. 3D printing lab manager, 3D printing technician, and industries that have sprung up to do 3D printing as a service. And every day there's a new application that I hear about. So ultimately, what we really believe in is, can we give students an industry valued skill set to find a fulfilling career with a great trajectory that also aligns with whatever their unique talents and interests are?
And isn't that what education, or at least really good education, is all about? Finding those unique talents and interests of the students, finding really cool technology that can support those talents and interests, and then finding amazing career opportunities for them once they gain those competencies and skills and they head out into the workforce. Really, really important. I think one of the things they'll find when they get into the workforce is when we think about additive and its applications in the world of manufacturing, for example, and so many of the other market spaces, Danny, that you mentioned in your last answer, what they'll find is it's not always just about the additive manufacturing or the 3D printing technology. It's about integrating all of these technologies together. So when you think about additive, when you think about 3D printing, are you thinking about it as a standalone process, or are you thinking about how we can integrate that with other technologies?
Absolutely the latter. I'm a big believer in hybrid manufacturing, meaning additive is a tool in your toolbox to make things better, faster, cheaper. It is not the sole solution. And so we do a lot of integration with traditional manufacturing. Think injection molding or CNC with robotics when you need custom end effectors or end-of-arm tooling, through automation cells, all the way through 3D scanning. We have whole programs where in dental, you'll do an intraoral scan. We'll take that raw file, turn it into something that's printable, and load it on the printer. So again, it's really a way to make, I'll call it the technology, a tool, and invisible in terms of a learning curve, because ultimately what we're all trying to do here is help make things better and serve our customers in more effective ways.
And serve them in more effective ways, whether that's in the dental industry, whether that's in manufacturing. The examples that you shared a moment ago, I love the references to things like end-of-arm tools on robots. I love the references to work-holding fixtures in, for example, a CNC or a machine tool environment. All these great applications for additive. And frankly, I saw so many of those, Danny, when I was visiting our next guest, Brooks Jacobson, and spending some time with him at Lake Area Tech. So full disclosure, I've known Brooks several years. He and I got to know each other actually serving on a national board of the American Technical Education Association, doing amazing things for our technical and community colleges, the faculty, the staff, and the students all over the United States. So I know, Brooks, you love as much as I do being a part of that great organization. That's where we got to know each other. That's what precipitated this trip to South Dakota last year to see your incredible facility. So congratulations on the incredible work. And let me just start out by reading the gentleman, by the way, with the longest title, I think, in all of technical education, the Department Supervisor for Robotics, Electronic Systems, Electronic Systems Technology, Energy Technology, and Energy Operations. So Brooks, first, thanks so much for jumping on with us. It's great to see you.
Yeah, you too, Matt. Thanks.
So I saw your amazing 3D printing lab, and in fact, since I was there, it's relocated within the school with your brand new addition, which is I'm told just incredible. I need to get over there and check that out. But tell us a little bit about all the technologies that somebody would see if they were walking through your additive lab.
So in the 3D printer labs, kind of our clean lab, we have you can see there in the pictures, I have my B9 stations. We do a lot of printing on those for capstones for projects when they go through CAD class to test things. We kind of make them do it on all the different types of printers we have. So you can see the farm I have there has your normal 3D printer stuff there, different types of 3D printers. And then not in the picture, I have some other 3D printers, so metal and a fibers, those type of 3D printers for specialty stuff.
And tell me how this all got started. How did you get into additive originally, and what got you excited about this technology?
Yeah, so I got into 3D printing back in 2007. I just was curious, needed something to do, keep myself out of trouble. Rebuilt basically I took an old copy machine and built a 3D printer using kind of the old ABS. That's all they had back then. It grew into more. We had a 3D print club here for years where we cut out wooden pieces basically to build 3D printers, and we'd all build a 3D printer and kind of hang out, help each other out, and then it just kept growing and growing and growing, and now it's careers around here. There's print farms and quite a few businesses around here, and I have students from robotics get hired. That's all they do is take care of print farms now. So pretty crazy.
Unbelievable. Yeah, for sure. And it's interesting to think, first of all, I think you're the only person, Brooks, that's ever told me that they got into 3D printing to stay out of trouble, but it seems to be working for you. So congratulations on that. The other thing that's interesting to me is just how that technology has changed. And you say you started in 2007. Here we are now, some 17 years later. Probably hard for you to believe, and hard for you to believe all the amazing changes in technology. As I suggested in the intro when I was visiting you earlier this year, and I saw the B9 Creations printers, just the great things that you had to say about them. I didn't want to steal your thunder, and I didn't want to give anything away. So I would love for you now to tell our audience on this webinar, what is it about B9 that you were so interested in, and why did you end up adding them to your fleet?
So when I found out of B9, it was actually through our state MEP center, which it's hosted here on campus, but they brought up B9. I never heard of it, and we started reaching out. Big part of it was they're South Dakota born, and we wanted to get in touch with them and see what they're all about. We had some resin type printers. I was not a fan of the resin printers we had before this. They were tough to calibrate, tough to do anything with, messy. And we started off with B9, just kind of visited out there, saw their process, did some stuff. We ended up with the two smaller printers you see there on the picture behind me there. And then added in the larger scale one for some, basically because we were getting enough prints to do stuff in class, and then industry people were getting very interested in it, and just kind of went from there. I love this. You don't have to calibrate it. That's probably my favorite thing. It just prints.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
It's just easy. Yeah. Yep.
We love easy. We like just prints. And, Danny mentioned, tolerances and speed as well when she was talking a little bit about the technology. Have you found the same benefits?
Yes. So if you see on the side there, the blue hinge right there, it's an ABS. We printed that out actually for a company here in town as a test print. And then they wanted to know, well, how long it would take if we put 50 of them on a plate. And we're like, I don't know, let's try it out. Well, it took the same amount of time. That was the nice thing. It's in one part, that bed you could fill it all the way up, and it's going to take the same amount of time as the one part. It was just incredible. I mean, it was 20 minutes and we had 50 parts done. It was really cool. So
Wow, 50 parts in 20 minutes. So there's actually a chance that Danny can keep her promise that she's going to get a print done for your 30-minute webinar. We heard that from Brooks Jacobson. Again, somebody I've got all kinds of respect for. You mentioned, Brooks, and one of the things you've done incredibly well is creating these industry partnerships. You mentioned that you did a project for an industrial partner and were able to print 50 parts in the same time that would take you to do one. One of the things that's unique about your program is that you really run your own your own manufacturing grade, your own service bureau in terms of servicing companies in and around Watertown where your school is. And so that's really interesting to me. Not only are you partnering with industry for the benefit of your students, but you're partnering with industry to actually supply them with parts. So tell us about both of those. What's so important about your industry partnerships? And also tell us about the fact that you're actually doing print orders for your industrial partners.
Yeah, so like another story with the B9 printers, we had a company here in town asking about them, and that's how another way we started really talking to B9, because they came knocking and wanted to sell printers type thing, and they told them you need to go talk to Lake Area Tech. And so we got one here and started testing it. They used it, tested some parts on it, loved it. They ended up buying a printer. One of our alumni takes care of that printer over there for them. And we're able to right away, they'd send that technician, which is an alumni, which is nice, but can we print a few things if we buy some material? Of course, that's why it's here. Let's use it, let's do stuff with it. And now we've had multiple companies, and not just in Watertown, throughout South Dakota, and a couple smaller ones in Minnesota. We've helped just do one-off parts or a little run of type parts. It really helps them see the potential in it, and hopefully, moving into getting their own and hiring that tech to take care of other stuff, because it's not just parts all the time. These are parts for assemblies and other pieces that go along the whole assembly line. So we kind of, again, it's a tool in your toolbox is what 3D printing is anymore. So
absolutely. And a whole different world when you're building actual parts for assemblies and actual parts for production projects, and really speaks to the quality of the work that you're doing. A lot of times, Brooks, when I'm talking with people in colleges and getting them excited about new technologies, they'll say, go talk to our industry partners. And in this case, you had somebody that was with your industry partner that said, you need to go talk to the things that are going on at Lake Area Tech, which is really, it speaks so highly of those incredible relationships that you've been able to build with your industrial partners. Now, those are two-way relationships, right? You're working with those industrial partners, you're providing products and services to them. No doubt they're doing some really, really cool things to support the work that you're doing. But in the end, it's really about what kind of opportunities and jobs are we creating and careers are we creating for students? How are we matching those to industry needs? How are we using that to fuel the overall economic development of a region? And in the end, that's really what our technical and community colleges all over the United States do, is to help fuel economic development. Now, I've got to tell you, one of the B9 printers I saw when I was on your campus, probably the most amazing thing I saw. But a close second was this job board that you have, and the way that you have, and there we have a picture of it right there on the screen, the way that you have communicated with your students, with your alumni about opportunities in and around your college, in industry. And it blew me away to see all the different opportunities in manufacturing and in related competencies and related markets. So I would love to hear about this from you. We heard from Danny about the opportunities in additive and 3D printing for potential careers. Are you seeing the same thing? What types of jobs are really out there for students with 3D printing skills?
yeah, so I'm starting to see it in almost all the industries that are hiring our students. There's the food processes is starting to use those printers to R&D type things. Wells Blue Bunny, Agripure, any of those places, just to try things before they go maybe get the parts machined and put them in production. And they need qualified people to know how to correctly put that part on there to print right, because every printer has its little piece and its little thing, and you got to know how to do the slicers and the pieces and get it set up right. And we train that in one of our classes. And then I'm starting to see, I know 3 businesses here just in Watertown that have, I would consider, a print farm. So, 5 to 10 3D printers, and most of them are different brands, they have different uses. But there's one company here in town, I think they're up to almost 20. And
Wow.
they're printing production parts off of it because they don't need hundreds and hundreds of thousands, but they need enough to justify this and maybe not getting injection molding done on it. So, and that's where we have an alumni. That's all she does is take care of that print farm. And they're over here quite a bit, and a couple other industries in town. They love coming over and trying stuff. Hey, can we try this? Absolutely. I mean, that's what this is all about, is having these students connect with some industry and help them out and try to understand how work goes. So.
But I think that in a lot of ways, that's been the evolution that we've seen in additive and 3D printing when, 10, 12, 15 years ago, they were just coming of age in schools. You didn't see them much in industry. And I think as we've produced talent, as the technology has evolved, as industrial employers and others have started to recognize where they can fit and where they can add value, we're starting to see a lot more of them in the industrial space. So it's a great time to be in additive. It's a great time to be in 3D printing. It's a great time to be doing the amazing work that you're doing, Brooks, there at Lake Area Tech. So thanks so much for taking some time for us to talk about your amazing location and your amazing programs, and there are so many of them. Speaking of amazing, I'm going to hand it back over to Melissa because I know we've got some amazing audience questions that are waiting out there. So Melissa, what are you hearing from our audience?
Absolutely. Thanks, Matt. And audience members, you have time now still to submit your questions. So you should see that Q&A box. If you have questions now, this is the time to submit them. We do have a couple. Danny, I will pose this one to you. What type of slicer program is needed for these machines?
So we have our own proprietary slicer, comes with the printer, and it will accept files from any CAD program that you're using that can export an STL.
Awesome. Super simple answer. Brooks, next one is for you. My budget is limited. Why did you decide to invest in this technology versus other options? That's kind of the first question. And then a related but different question is, what do your students think about the technology?
Yeah. So, obviously, like the pictures you saw, I have a lot of different technologies as far as it comes to additive manufacturing. We decided to go this way because of industry. We had industry guys basically saying you should do something, you should look at it, and we had industry basically help fund this. It was a state grant, but the industry's dollars are the ones doing this, and that's who pushed it and got it. And then they helped with the grant stuff, gave us some really good letters of recommendation, and it obviously worked out. We got these in here, so grants are huge. My students love them. They want to go, everything we print, they want to go straight to the B9s. And a lot of times I'm like, okay, how about we, test this, make sure everything's going to fit. So when we do the nice print, it's already done. Let's test it on, they built their own printer in a class. So we tested on their printer, which is also good for them. It's all the calibration piece and everything. And then they can go to a nicer printer with like the B9s or fibers or metals or whatever we're going to use. But they really like the tech and they like the software for sure. I mean, the software, Danny didn't mention it, but you're not paying like a maintenance fee for the software every year. You're not doing any of that. It just updates. Your computer or your printers are online. They update automatically. It's real handy, real slick. You don't have to worry about a lot of stuff. So
awesome. Thanks, Brooks.
Yeah.
Danny, next question is for you. Actually, this was 2 questions submitted by our attendees, all related to the resins. Can you use resins not produced by B9? This person asked because some of the other companies that they've contacted were required to use only their material. So tell me about material off the shelf versus proprietary versus B9. Where are they getting their resins from?
Absolutely. So we do have our own line of engineering, biocompatible, dental, silicone-like materials, but all of our platforms are open, meaning you have a third-party material, we can work with you to get it on the B9 through software, or honestly, part of that services and support is us helping you make sure that material is printable on our platform. So it's totally open, and we're here to help you make that a reality.
Perfect. I'll pose this next one to Brooks, and then Danny, you can chime in from what you've heard from other customers. What do you typically use for CAD? Are you using Fusion 360 or something else? Brooks, I'll let you answer first, and then Danny.
Yeah, so we teach Fusion 360 for our class, and we also have precision machining does SolidWorks. So we're using, and these are being used by not just us; they're being used across campus. We have, kids like she said, entrepreneurship and I've had nursing students that have ideas and want to come do stuff. So we try to do Fusion 360 because it's free and easy, but it's not saying you couldn't use basically anything. I mean, we've used Tinkercad and made files to print off. So, I mean, it's all out there and free and usable. So.
Yeah, Brooks is spot on. That's what I see most of too, is people starting with Fusion 360 and then if they need it, moving to something with a little more bells and whistles. But that is a great program for the college space, especially when you have students that aren't necessarily coming in from a technical background. It makes it very easy for them to be able to bring their ideas to life.
Awesome. Next question for Danny. And Brooks, if you have personal stories, you're welcome to chime in too, but notice there's a couple of different kinds of B9 printers in Brooks's print farm. So, you know, what's the difference between those and how would a technical college know which one would be right for them?
So the main difference is going to be size. Are you printing something like this, or are you printing something like this? And so when you're looking at it, that would be my first determining factor. But honestly, the way Brooks has it set up, where I have a smaller format, those printers are fast. I promise we'll be able to deliver on our promise we made at the beginning of the webinar. And they want a larger printer, not only to print larger parts, but to Brooks's point, I might need 50 or 100, and I need a platform that can do higher throughput. The most successful technical colleges tend to pair those together so that they have the widest range of applications available. But that's where I would start, is what are you looking to print? What size is it? And what materials do you need?
I would agree with that. We started, like I said, those smaller ones and got to the point where it was, okay, we need something with a bigger platform. We've got enough going on that we need to do something. So that's how we got those.
Yeah, perfect. Danny, you know, Brooks mentioned he's got nursing students coming in asking, maybe you can touch on a little bit of some of the stuff you guys have in terms of printers and materials for some of the dental and biomedical programs.
Yes. So when you think biomedical, I mean, it's everything from, this is an anatomical model of a heart. So you think about being in a hospital and wanting to understand that space, all the way through medical devices. That's everything from, think pacemakers or diabetes insulin pumps. We do a lot in that space, microfluidics, all the way through, we can 3D print things that make tissue. So in a field of surgery, when you want to not have implant rejection, or you want to test a new drug delivery for a personalized treatment, all of that is possible on the B9 printers. And we're seeing a lot of schools in dental and nursing, physical and occupational therapy. All of them are incorporating 3D printing into those.
Awesome. Thank you, audience, for all of your questions. Those were very thoughtful questions, and thank you to our team here for the answers. I think I'm going to stop sharing just so that we can see if you guys were able to live up on your promise there, and let's see that print.
Look at this. So I can hear it stop. That's when he was going. That's how fast the printing was. And he managed to clean this without touching it. So it's a no mess experience. And in honor of Brooks in South Dakota, these are South Dakota keychains that we printed.
Fantastic.
All right, well, that's beautiful. And I just have to thank, Brooks, first of all. The relationship between Danny and B9 and our companies would not exist if not for you. You were the glue that put us together. You told me about this amazing technology. You shared that story with our audience today. Days later, I called Sean Anderson, the CEO of B9 Creations. Our companies are so well aligned in terms of culture and what we want to do in the education space. Danny, it's been an honor to be connected with you. And Brooks, it's been incredible to be working with you as well. And I want to thank you both for spending time with us here on this incredible webinar. And Melissa, I'll let you take us home.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt. Thank you to everyone who joined us. Like I said, it was going to be a quick 30 minutes, but we had a lot to share with you. Again, I will be sending everyone an email with the recording. So if you jumped on late or you want to share this with someone else, you'll have the ability to do that. As Matt teed up, this is the second of a 3-part series we're doing. So last week we had a webinar all about 3D printing in K-12 education specifically. I'll include that in the follow-up email in case you guys want to check that one out. And then next Wednesday, we have a third webinar all about how it's being used in research programs in those higher ed university programs for some really cool research level applications. So if you're interested in some of that, you're welcome to come back. We'll see you next week. I'll make sure to include the registration for next week's webinar as well in our follow-up. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon, and everyone, take care.